basically tells us how to understand Islam from a Canadian context in the proper light as we take on and put on the hat of a mentor to mentees, whether you're being mentored or being mentoring. And the second phase is the personal development side to say, okay, how can, now that we have the bit of the knowledge or at least been exposed to it, how do we translate that into actionable steps to change our behavior, to become a better, more empowered human being? And step three is how do you take all of that and give it to somebody else? So those are the three aspects. One is knowledge, two is practical skills, and three is service, where you give that to somebody else. So that's what we're trying to do in general. And this session would be session number, I think, seven or eight. We took the first 5 sessions and talked about habit building, and yes, 5 whole sessions to do that, because it really is the backbone of everything that we do. If I know how to install a habit and how to delete one, then I can take that skill set and apply it to everything else that we're going to cover, including the second topic that we covered, which is willpower, and the third topic being procrastination. So last week we introduced procrastination as a topic, and the intent behind the sources that I'm going to share with you is to say, if you'd like to get more reading done on this, if you love to read, these are the sources that we use specifically for the 2 lectures, that one last week and this one this week as well. The overview, inshallah, over the next hour that we have together is to do a bit of recap and to talk about 5 specific tools to hopefully conquer procrastination, or at least deal with procrastination. I don't think you ever overcome it. It's one of those things that's always going to be there at different degrees, of course, but you can empower yourself to recognize when you're procrastinating and hopefully pull out one of those tools from your toolbox and say, let me try this and see if this can overcome it, at least now in this situation. So situational awareness and then tools to overcome them. That's the whole intent behind the tool. So let's start with the recap. We started with procrastination defined. You guys remember how we define procrastination? I like to actively recall, and that's how we memorize things or really deeply understand them. Level 1 is to be exposed, level 2 is to recall it, level 3 is to teach it to somebody else. Secretively, this is why I love doing these sessions, because probably the person who benefits the most is myself after having to teach it to somebody else. This way you're more empowered and you can say, hey, I kind of taught this yesterday, so why don't I use it today when procrastination happens? So do you guys remember what procrastination was, how we defined it? Yes, go ahead, Dr. Perfect on our lives. Excellently done, mashallah. So 3 components: needless, voluntary, negative impact. So it's a delay, of course, that's what procrastination is, but it's a delay that is needless and voluntary at the same time. So sometimes there is a needed delay. So for example, I'm very angry right now, and I want to go yell at Khalil and tell him why he is the worst person on the face of the planet. It's really, really good to delay that, to actively say pause. And in fact, the Prophet ﷺ taught us that in situations like this, it's good to delay, to calm down, take a breather, postpone my discussion with Khalil, because it's likely not going to go very well if I do it right now. So there is a need in this case to delay. When it's needless, it's got one element of procrastination. The second item is it's voluntary. So it's something that I choose upon myself to do, versus, I want to go and do my swimming laps Saturday morning. I really want to, and I get there and I realize, oops, it's closed because of construction or because of maintenance. That's not voluntary. That's something that was happened upon me, and had I had my wish, I wouldn't have done it. That would not be called procrastination. And the third item is negative impact. So if you choose to delay something needlessly and voluntarily, and it has no negative impact, it's probably not considered procrastination. So when the 3 things come together, that's when the negativity happens, which is the negative impact on our lives. That's why we define it in this way. And then we talked about the motivation equation. You guys remember what the motivation equation was? Anybody? I'm going to ask Badr because he seems to be in a chatty mood today. Do you remember what motivation equation is? I don't think you were here last week, so I won't pick on you too much. But anybody here remember? Good. I love the silence. Assalamu alaikum. I really like the silence because it means pause, think. What is motivation equation? Assalamu alaikum. What is it? And I remember kind of talking about that and actively trying to retrieve it. That's neurons being rewired in your brain. That silence is actually a good thing. Assalamu alaikum. You had your hand up, kind of. Oh, good. Excellent. There's the Egyptian in you, mashallah. Always prepared. Go ahead. No, I tried to give you something. Come on. Perfect. So we'll repeat that for those who didn't hear. Motivation, which is the opposite of procrastination. When you procrastinate, you're not motivated to do whatever that thing you wanted to do. When motivation is high, it's because of two factors in the numerator, and that's expectancy times value, or value times expectancy, it doesn't matter, divided by impulsivity times delay. You guys remember, bonus points for those who remember who came up with this. What's his name? Or where is he from? He's actually Canadian. Americans shoot, yeah, but Canadians don't. So Pierre Steels, I think you're thinking about the rifle shooter, who's Lenny Basham, who's going to come out later on in the discussion. But Pierre Steels is a professor out of Calgary, and he did a meta-analysis and studied all the research papers that talk about procrastination and came up with this relationship equation. Obviously, it's not a mathematical equation. It's not like 2 times 6 divided by 1 times 7 equals whatever motivation. The intent behind that is to say, focus on the numerator and try to increase it, and you increase the motivation. Focus on the denominator and try to decrease it, and then you increase motivation. So expectancy times value over impulsivity times delay. So when I feel stuck, what do? I basically ask myself those 4 questions. Do I think I'm stuck on something? Like, for example, I don't want to do my taxes, or I don't want to go swimming, or I don't want to do my homework. Whatever that thing is that you know you should do, but you're not doing, ask yourself those 4 questions. Do I, ahlan wa sahlan, Abdurrahman, how are you? So fashionably late of you, mashallah. So do I expect I'm going to get that thing that I'm going after? I need to write a thesis of 90,000 words. Am I capable of doing that? If I'm not, then that's where I go and address it. I say, okay, maybe I'm biting more than I can chew. Maybe not now. Maybe this is not what I need to be doing right now. But if it's not the value, I think, like, sorry, that's the expectancy. I think I can do that, but value, I don't care to do a thesis about whatever, Islamic finance. You don't value that. Why are you going after that? Because I should. What does that mean? I should. Quit shooting on yourself, as they say. If it's somebody telling you should be doing this, stop, pause, ask yourself, is it something intrinsically motivating me to do it? If not, perhaps you shouldn't be doing it. Now, please, 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 don't do this when it comes to salah and siyam and zakat. You know, those things, even, yes, I understand you should be doing them, but at the same time, instead of not doing them, just reorient yourself and say, why don't I feel like praying? That's what you be addressing. Because nobody's telling you, oh, then give up on prayer, give up on zakat. Please don't do that. But at least get the help that you need to understand why I'm praying, understand truly why am I giving zakat, why am I going to the masjid. Because these things, if they don't have enough value for you, we can solve them a different way. And the 2 things on the bottom is impulsivity and delay. So the next 2 questions I ask myself is, am I able to focus? I don't have my cell phone on me right now, but if I did, I'd pull it out and hold it up, and you guys would go, yeah, I understand. When it's buzzing every 3 seconds, zzz, zzz, zzz. And it's so funny, because because maybe some of the young guys will know what I'm talking about here. I took some of you know I'm in lifeguarding. It's weird, yes. And I go attend classes. They do have classes in lifeguarding. And guess what? Most people in it are 18-year-olds and 19-year-olds and 20-year-olds. So it's weird, really weird when I'm there in class. They're like, who's the old guy here? But anyway, one of the experiment or exercises they came up with that I found fascinating was the instructor, who was 25, still very like my kid's age, gets up and says, okay, we're going to do this exercise and we're going to put your phone on silent just so it doesn't buzz. But every time you get a notification, you're going to come up to the class, to the paper, and put it down under Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, email, or what have you. And the reason why he did that is to show you how distracting this is. And sure enough, like I don't have notifications because I'm maybe too old, but these guys were coming up every second. And mainly, which program do you think, which social media app was the culprit? So it's the second one, Snapchat. By far, I guess that's when I said, maybe I should invest in this company. Because all these guys are on Snapchat, and it's like we're talking hundreds within a minute, or 2 or 3 or 4. Obviously, there were like 20 people in class. Put them together, there's 100 messages in the first 5 minutes. That's impulsivity. Why? Because who's going to resist the temptation to look at it when it buzzes or it goes ding and looking at it? And then what do? You look at it and then you respond and then you put it away and you repeat the process. And there goes your life. Not there goes your day, there goes your life, because you become used to this. And there's a little dopamine hit that you get every time you send something or get a like or get a heart or whatever you get. And you get addicted to that. And by the way, it's the Social Dilemma. It's on Netflix. If you've heard of this, go watch it. If you haven't heard of it, go watch it. And basically it says how social media companies are sitting there with hundreds of engineers, if not thousands of engineers, working away at hacking your attention. You are the product, by the way. In Instagram and Snapchat, you don't pay to use it, right? It's free. You think it's free, but it's not. That is not the product. You're the product. They're selling your attention to the highest bidder. Who's the highest bidder? Whoever is going to bid on the word this or that. Google does it all the time. Like when you're searching for, let's say, swim lessons. People bid on those numbers. You guys probably know this. And if you don't, you should look it up. And then who comes out in the search results first? It's the people who pay the most. So they're hacking your attention. That's why they make it super lucrative for you from a dopamine hit to say, it's just, you're tempted to use it all the time. Why do I talk about this? Not to say don't use your phone, but I do say don't use your phone. If you can, turn it off, set it to airplane mode. Wallahi, I shouldn't swear by Allah, but it's so freeing if you're able to do this every time. And it's hard. I know it's hard. The moment you set it to airplane mode, you're like, oh my God, there's a disaster about to happen. They're not going to call you. I'm sorry. If there's a disaster, we won't be calling you. We'll be calling 911. So it's okay if you turn your phone off. But what if my mom needs to get a hold of me? She'll know that, it's 9 o'clock and please don't call me at 9 o'clock because I'm going to be sleeping or getting ready for bed. So impulsivity is your tendency to go from like a rat, from thing to thing to thing to thing to thing. And last thing is delay. Delay meaning if my paper is due 3 months from now, of course I'm not going to work on it tonight. Why would I work on it tonight? I've got 100 other things. I have mentorship to come to. So I'll delay it and then delay it tomorrow and delay the day after. It's 3 months to go, so no big deal. So the smart people take that 3 months and break it down to what's my deadline tomorrow? What's my deadline the day after and the day after that? And they just work the process. And that's basically what you do when you feel stuck. You work the magic. You work the magic of the equation. If you have awareness, I know if you don't, yarhamukillah, if you don't have awareness, you just put it off and go watch Netflix. I get it. I do that sometimes. Yes, you're human, no problem. There's nothing bad with you, but you missed an opportunity to behave better. Don't beat yourself. Don't shame yourself. We're all in it together. Just recognize that I could have done it better had I had this in mind. And the last two things is goals. We talked about goals, and this I didn't mention before, but this is super interesting. They, you know what an fMRI machine is? A functional MRI machine. MRIs is when they scan your brain. They basically go over and over and over. We have some physicians in the crowd, maybe they can explain it to you. But basically, it scans your brain and tells you about the activities and synapses and what's happening there. So they put people there and then they test them. And they test them about something that they're procrastinating about. They say, you know, I have to make this call, or I have to send this email, or I have to prepare this business plan, or whatever. And they talk to them about that thing that they themselves said, it's something I'm procrastinating about. And they monitor what's happening in the brain. And then they realize that they're actually, the pain receptors in the brains are firing off. They're firing because they're experiencing the pain of that which they're procrastinating about. Give you an example, taxes. I hate doing my taxes. So what do? I'm not going to do it now. It's due end of April, beginning of May. Oh, and it's February. I'm not going to do it. Delay, 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 delay. What's happening as I'm delaying? Pain. There's pain. If you measure me as you talk to me about my taxes, you'll notice pain receptors or pain markers in my brain are lighting up. Then what's interesting is they get the same people to actually start the activity that they have pain about. And what happens is pain decreases and sometimes goes away. So simply by getting started, the pain goes away basically because it's self-induced. When you just get started, that pain disappears, goes away completely, because we have that fear that, oh, it's painful, I don't want to do it. But as you start getting it done, it's not as bad as you think, especially if you have time and you're not stressed about it. So that's what we covered last time. And today we're going to talk simply about a few other, one more thing, process versus outcome. That's what we ended with. And the idea that it's, instead of measuring your outcome and saying, I'm doing well or not doing well, just measure your process. We talked about the point of, what did we talk? I think losing weight is what we talked about. Okay, instead of you stepping on the scale every day and realizing you didn't hit the weight, up or down, by the way. Some people are trying to gain weight, not lose weight. Actually put me in that category. That's why I speak to Borat all the time and say, help me, man. I can't seem to be adding weight like you are, mashallah, may Allah bless him. So you're stepping on the scale and you're not at that goal, so you may be considered a failure because you didn't build up or build down to where you are. However, if you work the process, that's when you get a pass, because the process maybe drink your water, maybe go for a walk, maybe eat your vegetables, maybe it's lift some weights, maybe eat some protein. Whatever that process that you determined is, that's what you measure yourself against. And if you did the process, leave the outcome to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because ultimately it's in his hands anyway. And we ended with Nuh alayhi salam's example. If he was going to be measured by the outcome, from our vantage point, he would get a big F, wal'iyadhu billah. That's not, obviously, that's not how he's ever measured. He gets a big A++++. Not because I said it, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said it. Nuh alayhi salam was from Ulul Azm. Ulul Azm is the top 5 prophets of all time. Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was one of them, of course, and arguably the number one, but Nuh was there in the top 5. And you may ask why? Did he have hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people follow him? No, he didn't. He had less than 100, less than 100. Maybe not the same amount of people in this room. Just picture it for a second. 950 years. 950 years, and all we have to show for it is you guys. Like seriously, think about it. How depressing would it be to you if that happened? Did he one day quit? Did he one day say, forget my people, I'm gone? No, he worked the process. And the process was get up every day, smile, best presentation, and talk to as many people as I can about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Did I work the process? Yes. Did I work the protocol? Check. go to sleep, very comfortable, at peace. And when you don't work the process, irrespective of what the result is, you know you're going to wake up, you're going to go to sleep and have anxiety because you know you didn't do what you needed to do. We all know that. We all know when we do what we need to do, how great we feel. And when we don't and we cut corners, we feel lousy. Because subhanAllah, the heart is the best measurement for that. Right. Let's talk about a few. God, time flies. Is timing too slow, too fast? Do you guys need me to speed up? Tell me. I need data. Are you liking the speed? Who doesn't like the speed and needs to speed up? Put your hand up. 1, 2, 2 people. Come on. Who needs to slow down? The same 1, 2? No. Who needs to stay the same pace as we are right now? Okay. And who doesn't want to vote? Put your hand up. No, just kidding. Play. Implementation intentions. We talked about this in habits. And implementation intentions, by way of reminder, is simply saying, I'm going to pre-commit to a course of action when I'm feeling great. So I'm feeling great right now. I'm in a mentorship session hearing about procrastination. Great, I feel amazing. So I'm going to write in my journal, I commit, I swear I will do X. Meaning, for example, I want to get work done in the morning. I'm going to wake up tomorrow at 6 o'clock in the morning, 5:30, make wudu, pray on time, inshallah, before 6, because that's when 6:01, and before the sun comes up. And then I'm going to sit down, not open my phone. I'm going to actually get work done, whatever that work is. Maybe it's reading a book. Maybe it's writing an article. Maybe it's sending an email, whatever you want to do. However, before I sit down and do work, I'm going to turn off my router, for example. Or you say, what? Turn off router? What is that? Well, it's that thing that your dad installed so you have internet at home. You can actually turn that off, believe it or not. You can disconnect it. You can take the power off. There's no email. There's no Wi-Fi at the house. You could do that if you want. If there is no Wi-Fi, you're more likely, not less likely, if you don't have data on your phone, to actually get that thing done. I was telling my wife this yesterday, that subhanallah, how so many people find it hard, me included, to go to sleep at a reasonable time. What's a reasonable time? Immediately after Isha. Why do I consider that a reasonable time? Because that's what Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to do. Pray Isha, boom, go to sleep. I think it's doable, but it's very hard. Unless you make one shift in your brain. One shift, I almost guarantee everybody in this room will sleep earlier. You sleep at 1, you sleep earlier. Sleep at 12, sleep earlier. Sleep at 11, you'll sleep earlier. Don't take my word for it, go try it. And what is that one thing? Making a promise to yourself for one night, that after 9 p.m., I know Aisha's at 10, after 9 p.m., you will not use or access any electronics. I promise you, even from the first night, maybe the second night, you're going to notice the difference in your house. Because when there's no electronics, what do I mean by electronics? Computers, laptops, iPads, cell phones, TVs, all that is electronic. Anything that has a battery or you plug in, you can't use. What's going to happen? You're going to be bored, because what's there left to do? You're going to have to talk to your parents, and we know that's very boring, or you're going to have to read a book, and that puts you to sleep, or you're just going to sit there and stare at the ceiling thinking, why the heck did I agree to do this? Regardless, you're going to go to sleep earlier. So one simple example of pre-committing. I pre-commit to turning off my phone at 9 o'clock. I'm not telling you to do that. I'm saying just pre-commit to something that makes sense to you. So one example was, I'll turn off my router before I do any work. I love the second one because I tend, are we being broadcast? No. I tend to fall for this, like some people, you're not supposed to have your phone. And we don't have our phone. We just put it on this thing as we're driving. Tick, tick, tick. No, it's not in my hand. I'm just ticking away. And there you go. You're sending a whole letter to somebody, yelling at them as you're driving. But maybe when you get in the car, I will put my phone in the trunk. Crazy. Who does that? Well, you could do that. If you have a problem with texting, take your phone, put it in the trunk, close the trunk and drive. the world doesn't explode. You know why the world doesn't explode if you do that? Because we didn't have phones 10 years ago. And we seem to be able to drive and do all these crazy things. This is my personal one. When I go to the pool, when my legs hit the pool, what happens? If you guys ever heard me say this, you get a prize if you can complete the sentence. When I put my legs in the pool, go in. Excellent. You guessed, right? Or you heard me say this before. Why do I say this here? That's a classic example of pre-commitment. I love swimming. You leave me in a pool for a week, come back, you'll find me swimming, either dead or swimming back and forth. Seriously, when my wife doesn't like how my attitude about something, she says, honey, how about you go to the pool and do some laps? Because she knows when I come back, I'm in a very different mood. There's a problem. What is my problem with swimming? Until now, I've been swimming for a long time. I can't get over it. It's the first dip. Remember the first dip? Very cold. I don't know why. It's very cold. I know why, because they don't make it a sauna. Because if they do make it a sauna, I'm going to be really dead, because after a few laps, you're just going to have a heart attack if it's really hot. So it's actually good that it's cold, but I hate that first dip. Don't like it, still haven't got over it. So what I used to do in the past is sit there and just do my stretches for 10 minutes. Why? Because I'm procrastinating on getting in the pool. And I'm just, okay, Bismillah, I'm like Michael Phelps, and people are like, what's going on with him? I'm just simply avoiding the pain of getting in the water. And then I put one foot, look cool, don't look like an idiot. Then put the other leg, okay, and then talk, smile, hi. But it's actually just delaying the pain. And then inch your way in, inch. And then 10 minutes later, you're in the pool. I said, if I'm going to swim, I can't put myself through this pain. So now my rule, and if you see me ever swim, you'll know, oh my God, he did talk about this, is I sit down, put my legs in, and the moment my legs touch the water, I push myself off. Just push it out. Where am I going to go? Completely down, because I'm in the deep end. And it hits and it hurts, and it's, but you know, it's 1 second. It literally is 1 second, and it's over. And then I love my swimming after that. So it's pre-commitment to ensure that I don't procrastinate on something that I know is important to me. Because I don't want not to swim just because of that pain, and it's still painful even after all these years. So now you reflect yourself, and if we can, where's Ali? If you can make it a bit smaller, because I think it's cut off at the bottom. So I encourage you to reflect on your own. What are the things that you could create an if-then implementation intention on? What is it that you want to install? And how can you make it part of an if-then? If this happens, I will do this. I'm pre-committing. And especially when I'm well-fed, I'm well-rested, I'm awake, I'm not tired, my sugar level is high, that's when you want to make these pre-commitments, because you're more likely to follow through. Now, when the pain comes, just go back to the if-then. I promise myself this, I'm going to go ahead and execute it. Not going to be easy, but with practice, you get better at it, like anything else. طيب. I can't shift anymore, so maybe you need to shift for me. Yes. Can you go back one? Just one. Okay, go forward. Thank you very much. And if you can project it, that would be great. So Whoop. Do you guys remember what Whoop was? I should come with some carrots, and I wanted to say cookies and chocolates, but that won't work well. But I need to give you guys gifts to incentivize you to answer. What do you think Whoop stands for? Come on, you guys heard this a number of times. Yes, just the first one, because you're going to give me all four. I know that, but I want just the first one. No? Not weak. The teacher, wish. The first O. I'm going to drill it in your heads until you guys memorize it. The second O. Can we go to, okay, here we go. Perfect. What's the second O? Outcome. Who said that? MashaAllah. I didn't tell you this before. Excellent. What's the second O? Obstacle. What's the last P? not problem, not progress. Who? Plan. Who said it? MashaAllah. Manta, 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 wa mali waini manta. Sorry, it's an inside thing. So, wish, outcome, obstacle, plan. You want to do anything in your life. For example, giving a talk. I'm coming here to give these people a talk. What is the wish? The wish, I want to teach somebody about procrastination so they can overcome it if they have issues with it. What's the outcome? The outcome is you could get to help one person bridge the gap between them and where they could be. That's my wish. That's my outcome. The outcome is the benefit of that wish that I have. And then what do? The next thing is to say, what are all the obstacles that could happen? Well, I could get nervous. I could get in my head. I could be flustered. I could rework the presentation 1,700 times. All these things are obstacles to the wish that could happen. So what's my plan? When that nervousness level goes up, what's my plan? I commit to the plan, to the obstacle before it happens. So my plan, if I get in my head, I'm going to just calm down, take a deep breath, and say, Ya Allah, this is for you. Why am I in my head? It's not about making a presentation where people are happy about it. Wow, look at them, they're amazing. No, it's about was I able to help one person? Was I able to help myself in the process? Wish, outcome, obstacle, plan. So what we're going to do now, because we have only about 40 minutes left, is I'd like to turn it over to you guys. I want you guys to get in groups and do a group exercise on Whoop. What I want you to do, there are 6 things here. Creating a short introduction about Islam, hypothetically. Go create a short intro about what is Islam to a non-Muslim. 2, learning how to read Arabic. I don't know how to read, and let's say my wish is how to read Arabic. Quitting smoking, reading more books, praying sunnah more frequently, cutting out sugar. Take one of these 6 in your groups and go through Whoop. What is the wish? What is the outcome? What are the obstacles? What is my plan as a group? I'm going to keep this up. If I can get Muhammad to pair people up, maybe we'll have 6 groups in total. That way, one person can do one of these. Actually, I don't care which one you take. You pick which one you want. But if you can get into groups of 3 sisters and 3 brothers, and we'll go through this exercise together. Before we do that, any questions on what I'm trying to get at? I want you guys to practice Whoop. Go through this model and try to come up with wish, outcome, obstacle, plan. Sounds good? Go. Okay. طيب. What I'd like you guys to do is to take a deep breath. So I know this can go on for very, very long. MashaAllah, this is beautiful, this amount of energy in the room. We'll talk about the point behind this exercise, but you can realize that you could go through this very quickly, or you could take your time. You could take 10, 15, 20 minutes, and it really depends on the problem that you're dealing with. If it's a simple problem, you go through it very quickly. If it's a complicated problem, you go through this over and over and take your time. That's how this exercise works. So we're going to start in the center and go counterclockwise. And quickly, what you're going to do, what I'd like you to do, if you would be so inspired, is to A, state what your wish is, and go to your outcome, obstacle, plan very quickly. Go ahead.
Okay. Right.
And what I'd like, actually, I'm going to throw a wrench here. If you've ever spoken here before with a mic, I don't want you to be speaking today. No offense. Forgive me.
Wait, what?
If you've ever,
Spoken at the. Okay.
Jaldi karo. If you've ever spoken here with a microphone before today, I'd like you not to be speaking today. And the reason why I say that, she doesn't count. She spoke yesterday with a microphone. The reason why I say that is just, diversify, if you will, because I know, mashallah, everybody can do a great job. And if you can't choose somebody within 5 seconds, I'm going to be picking you. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Could you please just do it again?
It's going to be you.
No, it's not.
Yes. It's okay. It's okay, Malish. We're going to grow outside our comfort zone. So, Yara, your dad's right there. He can make you do it. I can't make you do it. So just grab it and say whatever. Take 10 seconds and say them all.
I don't care. Okay.
Go ahead. Anybody. You or the person next to you.
Well, and
We don't have a lot of time.
okay.
I didn't push.
Am I good? Can I hear? Okay. Am I good?
Please, go ahead.
Okay. We chose stopping smoking. And for the outcome, we talked about, so obviously the wish is pretty self-explanatory, stopping smoking.
Exactly.
For the outcome, obviously good health, not feeling dependent on smoking, because a lot of people who have that addiction, they just they're dependent on it throughout their lives, which is not something that's healthy. Strengthened willpower and feeling of accomplishment, because obviously as humans we strive for that.
Beautiful.
For obstacles, we talked about cravings, stress, peer pressure, and environment. So in terms of cravings, obviously like nicotine, it's just literally a craving. So like introduce different things into your life that you can replace with that. Same with stress, peer pressure. Involve yourself with different people that aren't going to influence you to be smoking, and that goes hand in hand with environment. And then for plan, attaching a purpose to why you want to quit. So similarly to how we understand halal and haram, and understanding why something's haram allows us to stay away from it, we should understand why smoking is wrong and why we should stay away from it. And an example of that, like focusing on the process and not the outcome. So that's an example of today I smoked one less cigarette, or I did one wrong, like less wrong thing. And then you can have a head start through fasting, because we know that fasting helps with desire. Keep your schedule full, keep yourself busy. And then, like I said, new stress coping mechanisms, anything to replace the habit, and then replacing with healthy, stimulating things. So people who actually smoke, it's known that you should keep yourself busy with like a lifesaver, with a straw even, anything that's, I guess, similar, but without the negative effect.
Beautiful. Very, very well done, mashallah. A round of applause. So basically, they came up with a whole bunch of obstacles and even bigger list of plans. That's exactly what you want. Why? Because you could use those plans interchangeably depending on what the issue is. So I think you guys hit it out of the park, mashallah. No pressure, you guys are next. So pick somebody who has never spoken here before to walk us through what you guys did. I don't know your name. Hi. Very well done. Okay, guys, go. Jaldi.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam wa
So
rahmatullah.
we chose number 4, which is reading books more often.
Hmm.
Our wish is, reading books. The outcome is reading 20 to 30 minutes per day and gaining more knowledge in general. So the obstacles, we put obstacles as staying focused. Like a lot of people grab a book and they start reading and you're like, this is boring. I don't want to do this anymore. Another obstacle is finding the interest, like getting over the barrier of, okay, I'm going to grab this book and start reading it. And for our plan, we said to overcome the barrier of grabbing the book, you can read the back of the cover, see if you're interested. And we said, find a book that complements your interests. So my example was if you're someone who's a physicist, right? You're not going to be interested in fiction books. You're going to be interested in more scientific or logical books, right? And for the staying focused, we said, yeah, we said something similar to that. What did we say?
Okay, no, that's good, mashallah. So just 2 comments. One is when we talk outcome, beautifully done by the way. When we talk outcome, it's what is the benefit of that wish that I'm trying to install. So I'm trying to install reading books more frequently. Okay, that's the wish. But what's that going to do for me? That's going to, in 10 years from now, give me so much knowledge about that area of expertise that maybe I become finally a person who's in tune with their area of practice or with their deen or with their command on a specific subject. Those are all the outcomes. It's basically what is the benefit of that thing that you want to do.
Yeah.
If you don't tie the benefit to that wish, it becomes more of I should read more books.
Yeah.
Why? Because society tells you, because your parents tell you, or is it intrinsically motivating from you to say, I want to become the best I can when it comes to Islamic finance? Perfect. How are you going to do that? Well, you're going to have to study. You need that knowledge. So it elevates that thing that you're trying to install. Doesn't make the obstacles less, but it just reinforces that why.
Yeah, that's why I said you find a book that complements your interest, right? So, for example, like a doctor would probably read books about, certain surgeries that he or she is planning on doing, which is going to put him at, that top 1%.
No, absolutely. It could be as simple as, I'm that physician and I always read those books in the office that when I go home, I want to read fiction. I just want to read stories to help myself wind down. So you decide what it is that is important to you and go after that. Well done, mashallah. Sisters in the back.
Okay, so we chose cutting out sugar as our wish.
Nice.
And for that, the obstacles would be getting through the day energy wise, because the less sugar you have, you also wouldn't have as much energy. And then temptation of other sweets that you're used to getting or that you love, cravings and that sort, as well as a lot of things have sugar, whether it's processed or natural. Of course, natural sugar is probably not the type that you're going to be cutting out.
No.
And then for the outcome, it would be you would have a longer life, inshallah, and then you would also lose a couple of pounds, be overall healthier, maybe have a better concentration throughout the day, and other health aspects, maybe feel better as well. And for our plan, it would be replacing the sugar with natural sugar whenever you would need that type of sugar, or slowly cutting down and eating in moderation rather than eating too much until it gets to the point where you would like to be.
Beautiful. Where is your obstacle? I didn't see that. So you said your wish, your outcome, and your plan. What obstacles would arise?
The obstacles would be you would not have energy throughout the day.
Okay, so you think I don't have energy.
As to the same point.
I see what you're saying. Do you think that would be the only obstacle?
No, you would have cravings for the sugar.
Correct, like the smoking.
Yes.
Where I just have a withdrawal, and you actually can have sugar withdrawal, just like you can have alcohol withdrawal, where your body begins to shake, believe it or not. If you completely cut out sugar, and you use the beautiful plan to say maybe moderately or gradually wean off sugar, absolutely beautiful. Any other obstacle that you think may come up?
There's temptation for sugar wherever you go, like McDonald's or like any type of fast food chain, as well as what else?
Beautiful. Do you know they put sugar in hot sauce? It's crazy, just crazy. And most of the diets, and it's not a big deal to like, we're not here to talk about dieting, but it's important to know what our society, our sick society is doing to us. We infuse sugar in everything. Why? Because you get to buy it more and more and more. So if you're actually looking at it from a commercial sense, it makes perfect sense why you would put sugar in hot sauce, why you'd put sugar in things that the last ingredient you'd think would be sugar, because that's how it sells. And your plan is beautiful to say, okay, how can I avoid these cravings? How can I wean off? How can I go and eat some dates whenever I need sugar? Because dates have sugar. And we're not trying to cut out completely sugar out, because you can't. It's impossible. That means you're going to cut out a lot of things in your diet, and maybe that's not healthy. But what we're trying to do in this case is just processed sugar. And again, this is not should. I shouldn't do anything. If you feel you want to cut out sugar in real life, that's how you'd go about doing it. Very well done. And go ahead, Wa'il.
Assalamu alaikum. So, our wish was to pray Sunnah more frequently, and our outcome was making it a habit, something we enjoy, feeling spiritually connected, and strengthening our iman.
Nice.
So, the obstacles we found were just being lazy throughout the day, being busy, not enjoying it, not feeling khushu', and feeling as if it's a burden. So our plan was to plan our life around prayer rather than just fitting it into your life. Working on your connections towards Allah and committing to some sunnah for at least a week.
Beautiful.
And add more sunnah later on.
Beautiful.
So for example, just committing to like the sunnah before Fajr,
No.
because it's like the most important one, and just like adding on after a week.
Beautiful. Very, very well done. Now, the last one is one of the best plans that you could come up with, which goes back to gradualism and building up and building that habit of praying sunnah. I don't know if I would have picked the before Fajr. Obviously, you pick what makes sense to you if that's the goal. It may be hard because you're kind of already tired, especially if you slept at 3 in the morning and it's 5 in the morning, you're trying to pray sunnah and Fajr. Maybe you're going to give that up first if you're really tired. Ask yourself, well, maybe Dhuhr is an easy one. Maybe Maghrib is an easy one. Maybe I find myself at Isha every time in the masjid, and it's super easy to pray sunnah in the masjid because everybody's doing it and they stop and they wait. Maybe that's what I'm going to start with. But you start with one in building. Beautiful, mashallah. And I like how you said that sometimes you get your mind right to try to see how this sunnah is connecting me with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, improving my iman. And one of the most beautiful things to use is your love for Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because he sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the one that used to do this. His sunnah. So if you develop that strong relationship and love to him, maybe it becomes easier to do what he used to do. And how do you develop the love for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Simply by learning about his life. And why do we do seerah? For the last 4 or 5 years, Sheikh Adnan has been doing this story of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, not just so you memorize it and say, well, in Uhud this happened, in Badr this happened, is that you say, I love you. I love you. Knowing your story tells me how much I owe everything I have to you, Ya Rasulullah. Maybe I can start by praying 2 rak'at after Maghrib. Maybe that's all I'm going to do for you and build from there. Jazakallah khair. Sisters. Yes. Good job. Very well done. Is it not on?
I think so.
Well, is it on?
Yes.
That was me tapping. Okay, go ahead.
So we went with reading books more often. So the wish would obviously be reading more books. The outcome would be becoming more knowledgeable, well-educated, increasing maybe even your vocabulary, becoming a more sort of well-rounded person.
Beautiful.
Obstacles would include a lack of skill, because at the end of the day, reading is a skill. Lack of motivation. Maybe it's not a habit that you built in the past and it's something that you'd like to start. A lack of interest even. So those would be some obstacles you'd have to overcome in order to read more books. And then a plan to follow through with that would start with finding things that you're actually interested in and not sort of going with whatever is trendy, whatever anybody else is telling you to read, even if it's something maybe you think other people wouldn't pick up themselves. If it's something you're interested in, you're guaranteed to follow through with at least 5 pages. And then setting aside a specific time and place in your day to read 5, 10, maybe even 1 page if you've never read before, or if you're not really in the habit of reading. I think understanding sort of the different genres and calibers of books, because there are obviously books that are a little bit more intellectually challenging than others, and not, shooting above your head so you don't become discouraged, is also very important. So I think that would be part of a plan. And then obviously like reminding yourself that you're doing this for the purpose to become well educated, to gain more knowledge in a specific sector, or even maybe just to enjoy yourself at the end of the day.
The biggest, mashallah, jazakallah khair, the biggest one that I saw in your articulation, very similar to what you guys did, was just picking a time that is consistent, that every day at 4 o'clock, something is going to buzz on my watch or on my phone and remind me I'm going to sit down and read. And I wouldn't do 10 pages if you've never read, but maybe doing 1 page. Beautiful. I love that. Just 1 page. How long will it take you to do 1 page? A minute and a half. Who doesn't have a minute and a half, especially if it's important to you? Once you get started, I bet you one of 2 things will happen. It becomes really easy to read that 1 page every day at 4 o'clock, or when you sit down and do that 1 page, you realize I'm actually in the mood to read more. 2, 3, 4, 7, 25. Maybe you read a whole chapter because you just got started. Feeling follows behavior. You behaved by going through and reading even though you didn't feel like it. And then all of a sudden your feeling is, I like to read some more. You read. So very well done, mashallah. Badr or Badr's group.
So we also chose quit smoking, and mashallah, the sisters didn't leave anything for us to say. But just one thing in the outcome, we would probably say is wishing to quit to become a better influencer for surroundings.
Sure. Nice.
And one of the obstacles would be believing that smoking actually calms you down. And in the plan would be gradual decrease.
Okay. How do you deal with the belief that smoking will make you calm down and calm your nerves? Because that's the obstacle that you said. Well, this understanding that I need to smoke because I'll feel good. What's the plan against that?
There's a lot of ways that you can calm down. Like a lot of people I know that started smoking because they like have problems, or like they're always mad. They're always like after they got in a conflict with someone, they just take a cigarette and be like, oh, I'm calmed down.
Yep.
So there's a lot of ways, like you can meditate, you can make wudu. The Prophet ﷺ said when you're mad, you can make wudu, do 2 rak'ahs, keep yourself, like just stay in a place by yourself, observe what happened, and then go from there.
Bingo. That is what we mean by plan. I feel like I'm stressed. I need to calm down. That's what your brain is telling you. But you've pre-committed, if then, to say, if I feel that, I'm going to go make wudu. I'm going to stop and meditate. I'm going to take a breather. I'm going to do whatever I need to do. But you've committed to doing that prior to that happening. Very well done, mashallah. Sisters, and then you guys are last, the best. Sisters go first. Omera, with a microphone. Just it's okay. It's okay. Use the microphone because that's how we do it here. We put people on the spot. Nice. Nice. Mm-hmm. 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 Dedicated time. Yep. Nice. Beautiful. Now, what may happen is all that plan doesn't actually address the obstacle. Because you listed 4 obstacles: not having time, not having a teacher, and so on and so forth. And you may say, my plan is to go find a teacher. Maybe that's the plan. And then you go execute the plan and realize, I can't. I don't know how to find a teacher. Maybe I'm too shy to ask a teacher. Fine, that plan didn't work for that obstacle. So next time you do that whoop again, it's not to say I used it, it didn't work. No, you say the plan of whoop didn't work at that time. I got to change my plan. I have plan A, but plan B and C and D and E and F and G and K and so on and so forth. And you just run through all these plans for that one obstacle until you overcome it. That's how that works. Does that make sense? Last but not least, Jaldi Karo. You got to turn it on. Bro, come on.
Hello?
Yeah.
All right. So our wish was number 6. It was eliminating sugar from our diets. So an outcome would be improving our overall health and having a better outcome for our energy levels. And it also helps with maintaining a healthy body mass. And it also reduces the risk of chronic diseases and has a big impact on our mood as well. So some obstacles would be, well, obviously craving for sugary foods. And there's also like some social pressures because like social gatherings like include desserts and stuff like that. So as well, there's also like a lack of awareness about sugar in our foods, like you said with the hot sauce, like the sugar, added sugar in places we won't even think. So there's that, and then there's also some like emotional attachment to food as well. Like some people eat their feelings out, like
Yep.
said.
Yep.
So yeah, that
And
those are,
we must have great compassion for people who have that, because we're all human, and that's a thing. So just because that's an obstacle doesn't mean there's something wrong with that. We just need to state that it's okay to have that issue. The question is how to overcome it with the plan. Go ahead.
yeah. And then just for the plan, there are many things one can do, but for example, you can pay attention to food labels and avoid products with added sugar, do some research.
Nice.
And as well, you can also find alternative ways to cope with emotions, such as like instead of relying on sugary treats, you can like maybe hang outside with friends, maybe work out, and like do various activities that will take your mind off of the food.
Nice. Amazing. And again, test those plans to see if they'll work with your obstacle. Obviously, this is all made up, but for your specific issue, you got to test that plan and see if it works. If it doesn't, go to plan B and C and D. As we did.
100%, yeah.
Jazakallah khair. So in the last few minutes that we have together, deep work is a beautiful thing that I would encourage everybody to think about. Deep work, it comes from the work of Cal Newport. He's a professor of computer science, actually, out of Washington University. I believe that's where he teaches. And he came out with a book of the same name, where he basically says, carve out time where you can actually go quite deep, where you're not accessible. You don't have your phone next to you. You don't have the email. You don't have the TV. You don't have the music. You don't have anything. You just have that time for you and yourself to go deep in you, whatever that thing that you're trying to do. And what most of us do, myself included, is multitask. Is what do? We have a podcast working, and I'm answering emails, and I'm also writing up whatever, and I'm talking to my wife at the same time. And I think, yeah, I'm doing all these things at the same time. Not true. Our brains are not designed to multitask. I'm sorry to break this to you. And yes, even if you're a woman, you're not designed to multitask. Asmat reminds me of this all the time. You're one kind of focus. We can do all these things. No, you can't. You just multitask a whole lot better than me. Not multitask. Task switch better than I. It takes me a while to task switch. For her, she can do it very quickly, but she's still switching between tasks. Her brain is doing one thing, then it switches and does something else. The problem with that is we're not really good at doing that. Why do you think they took our phones away when we're driving? Because we can't text and drive. We can't. We've proven to ourselves that that's when the increase of risk goes up when we do that. When we try to speak on the phone and drive at the same time, accidents increase because our brains can't do the two things together all the time. What do you think about yourself when you're listening to the podcast and emailing away and trying to write your research? Unlikely to be able to be done all at once. You know, you want to improve your year by 1 month. simply, and this is research that he quotes, is turn off your notifications on your phone. Just simply turning those. I'm not saying don't answer them. I'm not saying put your phone in the trunk. Just simply not having it buzz you or tell you every time you get a notification. There's a 10% increase in productivity when you do it that way. 10% productivity, that means 1 month in a year you get back. Imagine I tell you, I'm going to give you a month back this year. You say, well, how much do I need to pay you? Nothing. You just turn off those notifications. And I know it's very hard, for me specifically, is to go to airplane mode. It's very hard to do that. But the more you can consistently do that, the more you realize you have a lot of time during the day. You're like, where did this time come from? I'm able to do a whole lot more. Simply because you're mentally now not distracted. You know you can't, nothing is coming to that phone. You know, because it's in airplane mode. So you're more likely to focus on what you're doing. And creating time blocks to get something meaningful done in your life. You know what Sheikh Hasnan, mashallah, is able to do? He can sit here and talk to you about any topic. You just ask a question and he gives you a lecture on it. That didn't come yesterday. It's not because he went prepared and came and said, okay, I'm going to lecture you on X. It's because consistently he's been able to carve out time to read. Just read. Read a hadith or 2 or 3 a day. He has that time to do that. If he has that time to do it, I certainly have that time to do that. I just choose not to because I'm stuck to my phone. Again, love you, compassion. I get it. We're all in it together. But recognize that's the problem. The problem is I'm stuck to the phone. That's why I feel I have no time. But you have time. You sat here for 1 hour and 15 minutes. You have time. It's the question of what else can you create in your day to carve out time because you deserve it. It's for you to protect it for yourself so you can do something amazing with your life. In the next few minutes, here's a small example. You do it to yourself. I'm not going to do it now. But actually, in your mind right now, I want you to say A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J. Okay? Do that as fast as you can. Ready? I'm going to count, and you tell me how long it took you. I'm going to count for everybody. When I say 1, you start saying A, B, C, D, E, F. Okay? Ready? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How long did it take you? How long? 2 seconds. Anybody better than 2 seconds? 1.5. Okay, there's the engineer. Right, now we're going to do the same thing 1 to 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Ready? When I say go, you start counting in your head as fast as you can. Go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How long did it take you? 3 seconds, 2 seconds. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to do A1, B2, C3. Ready? I'm going to say go, and you're going to go all the way to J10. Ready? Go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Anybody done 14? Okay, how long did it take you? I lost you. Some people didn't even do it. Why? If one took you 2 seconds, the other one took you 2 seconds, it should take you 4. But you didn't finish in 15 seconds. Why? Because your brain is switching. A, 1, B, 2, C. What comes after 2, 3? So that's what your brain is doing all the time. So the same function is taking you forever just because you're mentally switching. We have to stop for prayer. I'm going to skip fundamentals, but I'm going to, and skip zigzags. And I'm going to ask you, and we're going to skip the video. We're going to actually skip the video if you don't mind. And we're going to have to stop here, although we had a few good slides to cover. Alhamdulillah, it is what it is. We're probably not going to cover procrastination next week. But I do want you to take a picture of this as the adhan is going. This is super important to us. This is a feedback we're requesting that you give us to tell us, are you finding this helpful? And we know you guys are polite and you're going to say, of course, it's helpful, hands up. This is anonymous, so you can tell us that it's not very good, it's too slow, it's not working, it's boring. Tell us whatever you want to tell us. If you love it, fine, okay, thank you, no problem. But really, we want to hear that feedback that will make us change, so we give you exactly what you want. So please either type this in your browser or take a picture of that. We'll keep it up as the Adan's going, and then inshallah we'll try to incorporate your feedback into our next sessions. We hope this was helpful. Jazakumullahu khair, and let's make Adan. I don't know next week. We'll see. Maybe we'll do it very quickly, but no, next week we're probably going to do productivity, because I don't want to take too much time on procrastination. Unless the feedback is, no, please make sure you cover that. Feel free to put that. But we really want to move on, and I